Just me.
Tell us all about it. Tell us what you want. Tell us what. I mean, I know the England result, but tell us the rest of it.
England sucked. Like, we played really badly. Scotland won at Twickenham for the first time since like the 80s, early 80s or something. And it was just a terrible game, and it was boring. The game yesterday was great though. Wales-Ireland, right? That was a fantastic game. And the Welsh captain, I don't know if you know him, Alan Wynne-Jones. Do you know this guy? It's like, he's massive. He's like a classic Welshman, but he's got that haircut that we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, Greg, where he's like clearly going bald but does not care. And it's just like, it's still a little bit bushy on the sides, and it's just like sort of wispy on top, but he doesn't care. It's like, he's young enough to know about like shaving your head and stuff. But he's like, no, I don't care. I'm a massive millionaire rugby captain, and all I care about is scoring tries. I don't care about my haircut. And I just thought, that's brilliant. I like someone's flying the flag for it. I like it.
Yeah.
The other thing I noticed was that I don't know whether this is something that's happened recently, but God, the referees interfere all the time now. Right? And I used to be on the side of like, I like the respect given to referees on rugby. I think rugby refs are great. They're really important, blah, blah, blah. And they set the example that football should follow, right? But I think they've gone too far, because these 3 games that I watched this weekend, they're sapping the fun out of the games, right? Everything, they're so pernickety. They're like, they're just stopping the game. They're just ruining it basically by sticking their oar in when they should just let things play out a little bit. Obviously, if something bad's happened, you've got to stop the game and do the normal stuff. But it seems to me like the refs have got too much power now, and they're just being too pernickety, and there is too many rules, and it's just sapping the fun a little bit. And the commentators were kind of saying like, oh, he would have got away with that back in the day, or God, I'm surprised the ref even saw that, or that's a tough call for And I was thinking, yeah, I'm with you. Like, they basically wanted to say, shut up, ref. Like, just let the game go on, and we're going to have some more fun. Basically, it wasn't dangerous. You don't need to stop the game for it. That sort of thing.
So was this like during like attacks and stuff, or was it like scrums and stuff
all the time,
being redone all the time,
everything
throughout the game?
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was texting my dad. He was watching the same thing, and I was like, what's going on with the ref? And he's like, yeah, I'm getting sick of it. I'm screaming at the TV. Like, he's just like, let it play on. It's just stopping and starting. So yeah, that was my second observation. One of them hair related, one of them ref related.
The thing with refs, I think, and sports like rugby, and I can relate more to it with football, but my point, I think, will be the same, is that everyone now has a voice, and that puts pressure on the authorities.
Yeah.
So with football, obviously they've brought in VAR, and with that, there's the minute differences, and with that, everyone's on Twitter and everyone's on their social media going, that's ridiculous, that's killing the game, when it's what we asked for 2 years ago. So now there's more rule changes happening within the sport more often, because they're feeling pressure from the people. And my guess would be similar with rugby, with the concussion situation and the welfare for the players. Because of that, the refs are probably being told, look, you're going to have to, well, maybe not be told, but feel like they have to interfere more, so that they're not going to go home and get threats on their social media because they didn't stop the play because somebody was passed out the other side of the pitch. Whereas back in the day, all we could do was talk about it to our mates at the pub. We couldn't post it online for people to spread and spread and spread.
Yeah, big time. I think you've got nail on the head with that, mate.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe refs are also being held too accountable for things that go wrong within a game, because we've forgotten there's human error within sport, and that's kind of part of it, isn't it? Like, and it's always been part of it until we've got these computers that can make everything perfect. So human error always used to be part of a game. So I remember the Rugby World Cup where we played America like 12 years ago or whatever. And I forget what player it was. I can't remember his name. I won't. But he was spear tackled by one of the Americans. Because that game was a joke. Because it literally looked like the American team didn't know how to play rugby. They looked like American football players playing rugby. It was so weird. There were so many high tackles and so many spear tackles. And this guy basically got dumped on his head. And he carried on playing for about 3 minutes, and then threw up on the side of the pitch, right?
Oh, jeez.
And then the ref forced him off the pitch. Whereas nowadays, if that had happened, it would be even they wouldn't take any chances. It would just be instantly be off the pitch. That we'd be waiting for 3 minutes whilst they figured out what was going on and that kind of stuff, right? And obviously, with the concussion thing, that's obviously very serious. But I'm just saying, that you can't blame the refs for everything. They can't see everything. They're not going to be perfect, and that's part of the game. Upsets like that happen, and I think we should be okay with it. Personally, that's what I think.
I agree.
When VAR first came in, because I've just recently tried to getting into football a bit more recently. When VAR was sort of first introduced, I thought it was a good idea. But the more and more I've seen of it, I'm like, nah. I think it's too precise, it's too perfect, and then it's not even perfect. That's the thing. If it's going to be perfect, then make sure you use it every single time when you can. But they aren't doing that, so it's not even perfect itself. So you might as well just get rid of it. And the issue, in my opinion,
and the biggest issue with VAR is the computer will generate the lines if we're talking about an offside to whether someone's offside or not. But then it's down to whoever's controlling the VAR to tell the on-field ref that they should go and look at it.
Yeah.
So there's still that human element.
Yeah.
That between the three of us, we will all see something different.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
That's the added issue on it. With football fans have got what they wanted. They've got VAR, and if it goes in, and the fundamental thing is, if it goes in their team's favour, it's the greatest thing in the world. If it goes against your team, it's the worst thing in the world, and it needs to go. And the refs should never ref a game of his life. That's the fundamental issue.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
couldn't agree more. I'm going to put the gavel down, and then we'll get a drink. Let's up the ante, shall we, boys?
Let's do it.
I'm getting a thirst on here. John Smith's is long gone. So today, I'm not sure whether I've had this in the podcast before. I might have done. My memory's a little bit hazy now after so many episodes. I'm going for a wee dram of Loch Lomond. Okay, this is. Is that Lowlands, Greg? I've been to Loch Lomond physically many times, but does it fall into the Lowland category? It's not Highlands yet, is it?
I don't think it is. You'd be surprised at how low the Highlands start.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So, for example, anything above Edinburgh is still going to be the Highlands.
Oh, okay. This will be Highlands then.
Yes, I think that's technically Highlands. Yeah.
Okay, sweet. It's creamy, caramelly, vanilla-y, that sort of thing. The bottle says it's got a touch of smoke, but I don't really taste it. It's very subtle when it comes down to smoke. But yeah,
okay, cool.
Just a good dram, basically. So yeah,
very
cheers,
good.
boys.
Cheers.
Love it. Cheers, mate. Sam, what you got, mate? I've just seen something on screen which I approve of greatly. What we doing?
We've got the Woodford Reserve.
Yes.
Yeah.
we've not got much.
No, you've been working on this one, haven't you?
Yeah, but we've got some, and that's about as far as my knowledge goes. I know you boys.
What the name of the bottle?
Yeah, you boys are well into the whiskey. I am not. I am a whiskey connoisseur as far as the price of the bottle goes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I figured that the more expensive, the better it will be. And to probably avoid the large supermarket brands' own stuff. That's my knowledge. So I've
that's my wine knowledge. Like if it's got a cork, I buy it. If it doesn't, not good enough.
Excellent.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So you've got Woodford Reserve, but what type of whiskey is it? Is it the bourbon? Is it the rye? Is it the single malt?
Kentucky straight bourbon. It says on the bottle.
Straight bourbon. Great. Yeah. Nice one. Good choice.
Fantastic.
Label batch 562, if that means anything to you.
Okay, yeah, good stuff.
So
that was anything to me, but yeah,
that was the first one on our list last week, wasn't it?
For an American whiskey, yeah, Woodford Reserve, definitely.
So it's I've realised it's not been released yet. Last week's episode because I was just editing it before we recorded this. It shall be released soon, but by the time people hear this, they will have heard the one before, and that exact whiskey was on our sort of top 5 list last week. So yeah, good shout. You're telepathic, mate. You're psychopathic. Yeah. You're getting the right vibes.
Yeah. I haven't been laughed off the podcast.
No, not at all. That was on our list.
Nailed it.
Happy days.
Great stuff.
choice.
So, are you enjoying it? How have you had a few bottles before, or is this sort of like brand new, or what's how far down the line of your whiskey journey is this?
It's still very, very new territory. Very new. I do like a whiskey, but I'll rarely buy a bottle for home. I'll often have it out and just say, "Give me a nice whiskey."
Yeah.
Which is always open for interpretation. But I've had this bottle probably 6-7 months. So best part of this terrible lockdown year that we've had, and it's lovely. Some whiskies I find are just too harsh. I can't do a pale ale because I'm a young boy, remember? Old enough to drink, though, may I say?
Yeah. We'll get legal on that. We'll put a disclaimer in.
Whereas I can drink this without any Coca-Cola or ice. I really enjoy it.
Nice.
Great.
Mate, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Like, even if it was the crappiest, cheapest rubbish from the shelf, even if it just matters whether you enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, fantastic. Yeah, and to top it off, it's on our list of top 5 must-have whiskies.
Yes.
So, yeah, you're on to a winner.
Yes.
Well done. Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Okay, so tonight I'm continuing my Talisker journey. So I missed a week last week. I forgot I said I was going to do my Talisker reviews. But anyway, so today we're doing Talisker Sky, which I think you said you've had before, Adam, right?
I've had one, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Love it.
Yeah. So in comparison to the 12-year-old, which I had last week, nowhere near as smoky, super bright. It's got this like barbecue smoke flavour rather than like TCP like medicinal smoke, which I know it doesn't sound very nice, but there's two, in my opinion, two very clear categories when you have like peated whiskey. But when you taste it, it's bright is the way I describe it. It just instantly just lights your mouth up with flavour. It's so nice. It's really, really good. It's just not super smoky like their single malt is. The 12-year-old rather. Yeah, it's really, really nice. And I think this is probably the cheaper one of all three. So there's 12-year-old, Sky, and Storm, and I think this is the cheapest of them. It's obviously not age statement, but
just describe to us what non-age statement is.
So
for anyone that might not know.
Yeah, cool. So any whiskey that has an age on it, what that's telling you is within the bottle, that's the youngest whiskey they've used. So a single malt. So people tend to think a single malt is just they make whiskey, they age it for say 12 years, and then they put from that barrel all of that into a bottle. But they actually don't do that. What they do is they can take maybe a 18-year-old and a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old, mix that together. But because the youngest whiskey they used was 12 years old, they have to put 12 years old legally on there. They can't put 15 or anything. They have to put the youngest one they've used. So even though it's a mix of whiskies, because it's from the same distillery, it's still called a single malt. And if they choose to tell you how old the youngest whiskey in there is, they will do that. But generally, because people who don't know a lot about whiskey, when they see a young whiskey, they tend to not buy it because they think it's not as good. So 12 is usually the youngest you'll see. Maybe some 10 years, but 12 is generally the sort of standard if you have an aged whiskey. And if there's any whiskey that doesn't have an age statement on, like this one, which is just called Talisker Sky, it normally means there's probably like an 8-year-old in there or could be 6-year-old. The minimum it has to be is 3. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. It's just a marketing thing. They just think if they have to put 3 years old on the bottle, no one's going to buy it because it sounds like it's going to be rubbish. But it just means that's been used in there. So yeah, so that's the difference. Age statement, the youngest age in there is 12 years or 18 or whatever it says. Non-age statement, it could be anything from 3 to 25.
Nice.
Interesting. So I have a question. Now that I've got you and we're talking whiskey. I use the phrase harsh to describe some whiskies that I've had, and I don't particularly like a harsh whiskey. I like a bit of a smooth one, which I would class as a amateur that this Woodford is quite a smooth whiskey.
Yeah.
What gives whiskies the harshness? If that's the right terminology.
Yeah. So yeah, like sommeliers, I don't know if that's not the correct word for whiskey connoisseurs, but whatever they would be called, like tasters for whiskey, would they